Hey there, chart friends. Lamont here from Chart Guys, checking in on the electric vehicle sector and a couple of battery names. So, as we always do with the first look of the week, we will start with the macro charts, the longer term time frame charts. And we're just being mindful, keeping in the back of our minds that the monthly is working on a TD8 now, right? It's a potentially a perfected 8. If it were to close above 567.60, then this would confirm as a perfect 8. And then if we get another monthly close that is above 705.67, then that would be a perfected 9 as well. Now, how that 9 is shaped will be very telling, right? So basically a TD trader or the system, the sequential system suggests that upon completing a 9, you would anticipate 1 to 4 bars of consolidation, particularly if it's a perfected 9 and if the 9 is a reversal candle. So the shape of the candle is very important. So for example, here you get this imperfected 9 and it's not really a reversal candle, and so you see continuation, right? Especially when you get that green one over it afterwards, you can be fairly confident that this 9 is not going to lead to any meaningful consolidation, which is totally fine. It's not like a it's not a buy or sell signal, right? It's just a mathematical signal, right? It just lets you know that a series of candles have had higher closes than the 4 candles prior to it. So it's basically a mathematical approach to recognizing trend, right? And so very often when you reach a 9, you will see some kind of pause. But if you are in some kind of impulsive move, right, if you're familiar with Elliott wave, if you're in a third wave, then very often you'll see a lot of these 9s get negated. So for example, this 9 here, it's perfected, but the 8 is not, so that's already less than ideal, and it's not a reversal candle. It's a big bull candle on good volume, so you don't really anticipate reversals there. All right. Anyway, so the monthly has the potential of that. It's hard to ignore, the ceiling. I shouldn't say ceiling, but the projected move for the year based on pivots, which is just derived from the previous period. So this last year's 2020's high, low, and close is right up here. It's right around 924. And so if we were to get that 9 as a reversal candle and be unable to close over that R1, I think there's a very good chance of the pivot for the year becoming tested, which is that 500 level that we were talking about. Oh my goodness. That's right. I forget about this. It's nice to have such a clean chart. Man, I forget how that... Anyway, so, just keep an open mind, right? Tesla has been ripping, but, we know how very violent runs tend to complete, right? So we'll just be mindful of that. On the weekly time frame, so this is not an ideal 9 either, right? But it's better than like a big green candle, right? So ideally this would be a big red candle, like maybe a Maribozu to make like a railroad track on high volume, and that would give you the most confidence in a potential short. You can see here soon after firing this perfect 9, 8, and 9 fires, you do get some meaningful consolidation, right? It's relatively short-lived, but it does occur. Even here is a decent signal. Here is a decent signal. Right, so that's really all we're anticipating whenever you get that 9, and particularly when it's not a big bearish reversal candle, right? See how these are very good signals to start, looking to, like, if you sell options here, that's very often a very good play. Well, I don't want to get into it, but if you check out the VIX weekly chart, it's a very good strategy. Anyway, I don't want to leave the scope too much. So this is incredibly healthy consolidation, right? We have a short week today, so the odds of an inside bar printing are very high. And even though the range of the last week was very minimal, right? So this essentially has the makings of a bull flag, right? And now if we check on the daily time frame, so I guess it might be even better to consider it a weekly bull flag and look for structure on the daily if it were to present itself. But for right now, we obviously don't have much of a support line. We only have a resistance line. I think I have drawn this already. Okay. So right now we're pretty much just sideways on the daily, and you can see that the ADMA has come up to scoop price up, which is ideal. All right, like that's what you want. You don't want price to come and like dump down into it. You see how when price dumps down into it, it's more likely that it breaks, right? Into the EMAs, I mean, right? But if price just goes sideways, then it kind of just scoops it. Right, that's what I like to use to describe it, right? Price, like here, if price just goes sideways, and the EMA just kind of scoops it up. You can see how this big move down cuts it. Anyway, so we just have a lot of sideways action right now. It's very controlled price action, And given how its peers are performing, Fangman and T, it's positioned very well, right? Like all the other Nasdaq names, QQQ names, right? Like Facebook has been going weekly sideways for a long time, right? Apple has been going weekly sideways for a long time, right? So basically, they've been just consolidating sideways for a really long time. NVDA is like identical, and whereas Tesla has been running up, and it's only now seeing sideways action. So compared to its peers, it's very strong, and we're looking at this potential inside bar. Like we mentioned, there's only 2 days left on this candle, and so if you're a TD trader, if this bar closes as a green one, there's a really good RR trade here. It's a stop buy, and if this closes as a green one, then you stop by that. I apologize for that. Your stop is just the bar of the one candle, which must be really low, and you're anticipating a move for another series of 9. So the RR would be phenomenal. Like this is a situation where I would consider using a stop buy. I very rarely will use stop buys because they're it's always it's a very contextual trade using a stop buy. All right, let's see. Contextually heavy trade, I should say. So on the daily time frame, we're just watching this very controlled consolidation. I think the hourly chart is really where the structure is most visible right now. Let me turn this EMA off. All right, so the ideal entry is down here, right? We want to see a bear break of this key support with no follow through, and you just might not get it. This happened to me very recently with Bingo, actually, where we were in here. Wow, that looks so similar. Interesting. You'll have to excuse this impromptu charting. Yeah, so we had a member who brought our attention to this potential trade, and I was looking for it down here, but because it broke out prematurely, or not prematurely, but it broke out before I could position down here in my ideal scenario, I had to make a higher low play, I believe, here. Yes, here. So Tesla looks very similar to that. Right, we have this downwards channel now, and ideally, you would get hourly oversold to get a daily bear break with no follow through to start making this weekly structure look more and more bull flaggy. But we might not get that, and it could just break. However, because we're in this large macro channel, I'm not like terribly bullish here. We've already broken out of this rather significant channel to be in this already rather steep one. So if we were to break bullish out of this channel, it would be incredibly steep. Now it could happen, right? But I would rather it didn't, honestly. I don't hate a grind up, maybe, so if we can come up here and just grind these resistances, I think even that would be fine, and then we could pull back for a very healthy higher low. I mean, even right now, if we were to pull back for a higher low, the last weekly higher low was here at 379.11, so it's already quite overdue for some consolidation. So yeah, I would not be surprised if this 9 does play out to be at least 1 to 4 bars of consolidation to pull back and look for that weekly higher low. In which case, we're going to be most interested in the 700 level first, and then this down here at 500 level. And if it's not a bull, if we just bull flag, great, right? if we just consolidate and bull flag, okay, fine, great, excellent. But if not, then we will be looking down here towards the 7s, where there was a bunch of volume put in, and then potentially to another leg down to the 5s. We will see one day at a time. So far, that's very flaggy, but it can break down. So we'll just watch this hourly channel structure, and if it breaks bullish and it's very impulsive, similar to Bingo, right? If you get a nice impulsive break like this, all right, well, that channel is probably negated, and you can position for a higher low, right? So bulls, if you did not get any size in here, then wait for the break, right? If we get a big bull move out of this channel and take out 1, 2, 3, 4 hourly resistances, which is very likely, right? That's not a lot of distance, right? This is not a lot of distance for one candle to go, right? So if it were to break that much, break all those resistances, I should say, then an hourly higher low play is immediately on deck for sure. And you can look on the back test of this, right? So maybe if we get a big move up, right, I bet you if we come back and test this level, there'll be at least some initial buyers to position, so that you can position and take some partial and maybe leave a piece on for a runner. Okay. All right. NIO. All right. Okay, so NIO, let's check the weekly time frame, or let's check the macro in general. So NIO is already working on its monthly 9, and you can see it's backing off of the pivot, the R1 for the year. So I don't know, maybe a little clue, right? Potentially, I think NIO has led much of the way up, so that's not impossible. And I bet if we do a fib relationship here, we can dig in and find some clues. Let's see, turn this stuff off. This. Nah. Ah, okay. All right, so this we stopped right on the 1.618 projection of this move. So if you take this move from this low to this high and then project it upon itself 1.618 times, then we stopped like practically to the tick. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's like a drawing. So in that case, knowing that the confluence is up there at 7024 with the R1 and that projection, I would not be surprised at all if we were to start looking for some more longer term consolidation. And you can see that we got this bull break, bull break with minimal follow through. So if we were to start consolidating from here, that would be a bit of a red flag, right? If we start seeing these bull breaks with minimal follow through, we'll watch out for the potential of a wedge, a rising wedge, which you can kind of already draw right now. Only 2 tests, right, of the resistance. Well, let's make sure. Let's make sure it's wedgy at all. Ah, not really. Oh, well, I suppose. But now I feel like I'm, forcing fit here, faking that funk a little bit. Well, I mean, you do get 1, 2. We'll be mindful of it, right? So we're watching for the potential of this wedge. So we'll just leave this marked out. I believe Plug had very similar price action to this in the past, and then eventually it was negated. So rising wedges actually break down less often than falling wedges. Falling wedges break bull. Just a statistic for you. Anyway, so yeah, we're looking for the potential of a daily higher low here. I don't really consider this a trend change. This was not a meaningful lower high, in my opinion. I just see this as one move. So really anything over 49.08 I would consider a higher low. And really I even this I don't really think is the most meaningful level to me is this one here. This last higher low before we ripped it up above this resistance. But this is a reasonable place to be looking for support. 49.08. So it didn't quite get to where we wanted to long it, but it was a nice short off of that previous channel. Where is my, right. Where we go? Oh man, organize these better. Yeah, so we, the short off of the previous channel support was great. However, we did not quite get, and where is that? Okay, anyway. All right, well, whatever. It's not quite gotten to the place where I was primarily interested. I don't think it got quite over, just it barely flirted with oversold. So now we are kind of channeling down, huh? Or at least 1, 2, 3. So I'm more confident in this resistance line than I am in the support, although it does get a few touches at the support line. Good affirmation there, and the median line tags. But anyway, so I still, for NIO, would prefer it lower, right? I mean, at this point now, because we got this bear break with very, very minimal follow through, I would probably be interested in looking for that again if there is a potential break with minimal follow through. But I would want my middle fill to be like where hourly oversold is. So if anything, I would just start nibbling there. But whatever the case may be, we are currently looking for a daily higher low, and the bulls have the potential to change the hourly trend here with a hold of 56.41 and a break of 59.01. So if they're able to do that, that'll set the daily higher low, and then we won't get that fill down there, or I won't. And if that were to be the case, and we set that daily higher low there, this is enough pullback that we'd be looking for a daily lower high under 66.99. That's pretty much it. Okay, so workhorse last week. That's weird. I thought we had a trade set up here from Wednesday. Oh, and I do apologize for not being around Thursday. I had some construction dudes in the neighborhood making a ruckus. That's weird. Oh, yes. Okay. All right, so we were looking for the back test of this highest close, right? So, price action, when you have that stair step pattern, right, it's very often what it is it's just back testing the previous resistances, right? Or, if you're bearish, it's back testing the previous supports. So we have this sideways consolidation structure here. Whoops. We had this sideways consolidation structure here, and the highest close is quite meaningful very often, right? So you can see it's coming into play today, and what was that, Friday? And so if you're in this trade, we got some fills here. Definitely enough to lower your cost basis a little bit, but I wouldn't blame you if you didn't, just getting one fill like that. So we're watching the potential of this hourly wedge to break bullish. Now you can see I have an alert for it. I already played some options, but anyway, this is a play that I very much like. You see this happen all the time, right? Where you have the previous resistance being tested, and then you'll see it start basing on like the 5-minute time frame. So because you're watching this highest close on the daily, if you zoom into the 5-minute, you'll see, look at how reactive it is, right? It's just, bulls just keep showing up and defending it, right? So you see this a few times, enough times, and you can just get bullish, right? You can just be bottom fishing these levels down here. As soon as you see this bear break with very little follow through, this one right here, right? This break of this support down here gets nothing. You can be looking to bottom fish at this point, especially if it gets nothing and then bounces like crazy like that. It's a huge bounce, right? So, yeah. What's a good example? Snap is a good example of that. So Snap on the weekly time frame, you can see, and I've used it before, I think, obviously. So we have this. It's weird. Usually I use a close. This must have been a while ago. Well, it was a while ago. Either way, it's just for the learning purposes, right? So let's say you have the significant close marked off here. Look how reactive that is, and this was the move, the rejection to send it into all-time lows. So you can imagine that it was there will likely be sellers defending there, right? This is where all the strong selling began. So anyway, if we broke over that level and then we came back to test it, and you can see what it looks like on the daily time frame was. Look at that. That's the line right there, right? Look how reactive it was. So anyway, you have something similar happening right now with with Workhorse. Oh man, this is gonna be a long one. 17 minutes. So I apologize. Okay. So we this trade on, if you're on, ideally you've chopped. And so we have the potential for this to play out, right? And even if we do change the hourly trend, even if the bulls do change the hourly trend here, we will just be looking for a daily lower high under 27.99. And I mean, that's technically an hourly trend change, right? I mean, the only reason why I don't put a lot of faith in it is because we're in this consolidation structure, this falling wedge pattern. And so whenever we're in this falling wedge pattern, I don't have as much faith in the price action trend changes. Like right here, for example, right? Like the first one, right? That's a nice clue. Well, if it happened here, right, like this, I'm not sure how this candle played out. We'd have to zoom in for details. But if you saw this bear break and then straight into a big bounce like that, that would be a big red flag. And you kind of get it here too, so that's fine, right? You get this bear break of that low and then straight into a bounce for a pretty significant bounce for a lower high, very close to the previous high. So anyway, I'm not terribly confident yet in this hourly trend change, even though technically you did get a price action trend change with this higher low here compared to this low, and then into a higher high. Is this let's see, yes it is. All right. Anyway, so ideally tomorrow for the bulls, we'll see this wedge break bullish and then make enough space for another hourly higher low over 2309. So that's really it. And if we get a bear break down into hourly oversold conditions into this central area yet again, I think that's fine. I would continue to play that, right? It's held so many times here that if we were to get extended again down there, hourly oversold conditions into this base, yeah, take it. wherever it starts, I would be interested, honestly. If just for a short-term bounce play, like for example here, because you can see that this sideways structure, you can kind of cut it in half, right? This was a meaningful level within this sideways, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if we were to get hourly oversold down here. That'd be great. It's right there, right? Like, why not take a stab at it? That's kind of why I like playing with options, where you can be wrong, like, you know, if I off by a couple days, and it's all right. Anyway, I mean, it depends on whatever. Okay, so yeah, something like this I think is decent for a higher low play if we see lower. Otherwise, if we see a big hourly move over 23.99, then we can be looking for that hourly higher low. Okay. Oh, lame. So lame. All right, so let's see here. Oh, that's weird. Oh, that was for this play. Okay, I see. Oh, this is like the pretty much the worst possible thing that could happen for this trade. That's great. Let's talk it over. Okay, so XPEV, what are we looking at? We're watching this range here to offer some potential resistance. This is like for the weekly lower high, so whatever. Well, okay, let's start on the macro, I guess. Oh man, did I not do that? Oh, whatever. All right, so we're looking for a weekly lower high, potential monthly inside bars right now. Chart looks pretty strong, honestly, on a macro. From a macro perspective, we're working on a green 2 over a green 1. We see the R1 ceiling for the year is right here. Would just make for that lower high. The daily chart just set another daily higher low. A big green volume bar today. A big green day on volume today, and closed near the high of the day, right up at resistance. So let's bring our charts back in, and let's see. We're just really looking for the potential of higher highs, right? If we see higher highs, we'll be looking for that weekly lower high up here. And the key resistance right now is pretty much a triple top. Let's see, 54.75, which we didn't break by a penny today. The bulls didn't break by a penny today. So let's walk through this. This would not have played out like this if you were managing it live. If you did a set it and forget it, then yeah, you probably got stopped out. So if you are scaling in, our initial trade was just looking for an hourly higher low. Okay, so this was set up to see 5-minute oversold conditions, which is fine. You would have had it here in the morning. So this trade, initially it does give you some opportunity to take profit, but it's not a lot. So actually 3% I probably would have, but it's not a lot. And so you may have been looking deeper. So you don't want to just leave your levels like this, like I did here. It's been days. I didn't look at it, but the idea is you want to drop them down, right? Just like we were looking for 5-minute oversold here, we can move our next fills down. So let's see what our new levels would have looked like, right? For theoretically, right? We'll set it up high. Bear with me here. I know this one's long, but lessons to be had, right? You can just turn it off if you don't like it. All right, so just like we were looking for the 5-minute oversold here, we want to get 5-minute oversold conditions on the way down. Because we've got a little bounce, it's cooled off, right? So we would have gotten this one fill here, for example. And then our next fill would have been over here, right? And then, oops, yeah, that's fine. We don't need that. And then our next fill would have been like maybe, oh gosh, this is a doozy. It stays oversold for so long. All right, so let's see. What would that look like? Yeah, I probably would have been stopped out either way. But my point is, normally you don't want to just leave your scales over days, especially when you have these like very tiny bounces to cool off the RSI. That's when like you'll want to reconsider. And so I guess the best play would have been to look left and see that these tops were printed here, and so look to be scaling down to these levels. Oh, just a tricky one, I guess. Can't win them all. Yeah. All right, so I guess yeah, that's the only adjustment that I would have made. Like because things got so extreme down here, ideally we would have looked left if managing this trade live and tried to dig out some levels to play off of instead of just using the 5-minute, because the 5-minute got oversold like right here. I'll mark it off so you can see what I'm talking about. It started to get oversold. So all right, so right there, which is pretty high on this candle, right? So because it's kind of in air and we know we just lost these supports, ideally we look left and just be bottom fishing for that last fill, if anything. Alternatively, if you didn't take profits on any of that and you got these two fills, if you didn't take profits on any of these little baby bounces, then you can just pull that third level too, right? And then just take that full stop down there and you'll still make out like pretty safe, minimizing your damage, right? Sometimes it's not about, well, you never really want to make a loser or winner, right? That's not a great idea, right? I mean, typically for if you're in a losing trade, just cut it, start clean slate it. But my point is, gosh, I lost my point. All right, well, this is getting long. I'm going to move on. All right, so plug. So plug is potentially, it probably did set this daily high or low already here. Let's check the hourly trend. Hourly trend is bullish. Wow, nice follow through on that. So the daily high or low for plug is likely set already. So at this point now, I would like to run the channel, and a potential channel, I should say, and we'll wait. We'll look to see if we can get some plays off of this, because this is potentially a bull flag. Yeah, this will potentially be a bull flag on the weekly time frame, right? You got a very, very steep pull. And so if we just see some very contained daily consolidation, potentially some daily bear breaks with minimal follow through that would fill this gap as well, then we have the potential of that flag to stay in play. So now the zone of interest would probably be like up here, right? If we can get hourly oversold conditions or 5-minute oversold conditions, because we're looking for hourly pivots, into the channel, potential channel support, that would be ideal. All right, something like that. Yep. So if the bears are able to defend this lower high of 68.45 and break to lower lows under 57.32, they'll change the daily trend, and we will look for that weekly higher low. All right, that's pretty much all I like for plug. And then special guest appearance here for ZAIR. They're a lithium battery name. So full disclosure, this is a very, very small market cap. And if you are an American trader, you have to trade the OTC ticker, which I'm sure is even worse. MGXRF. All right. So anyway, let's check this thing out. They make some kind of lithium battery. So right away, what stands out to me is this support, right? This potential trendline support. And if we can just assume parallelism and check for affirmation, there's not a lot of volume back here, so it's really hard to tell. And it's, I don't know. So right now we're currently rejecting from this potential median line. And we just came short of testing the R1 for the year. Now on the hourly time frame, there's just no volume on this Brock. Okay, this is probably like something that you'll only want to play on like the daily time frame, so you can make out somewhat of a chart. These are sort of candles in here on the daily time frame, and so really like ideally we'd see some more follow through out of here, and you probably just want to be coming really small in size and looking for something like this, right? Just looking for a back test of this consolidation structure. That's really the only trade that I would like on this this name as it currently stands. But look for this resistance, I mean the support line, to continue to hold, right, in this channel. So yeah, something like that. It's only 15%. There's just no volume. That's the issue, right? All right, well, that was long enough. I do apologize. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you all soon.